Thank you, everybody. Good morning. All right. Well, thank you for joining me here at the Board of Supervisors chambers, everyone. Thank you to Board President David Chu, to our Budget Chair Mark Farrell, to the entire members of our Board of Supervisors. Thank you for being here, our commissioners, our department heads, our elected officials, labor and community leaders. And welcome to all of our residents who are joining us here at the chambers and certainly online. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time, during the first time that I presented the budget to you, I shared my vision for a San Francisco that was safe, that was solvent, and that was successful, a city for the 100%. And my vision for our city has not wavered. The budget that I'm presenting to you today maintains that focus. When I first came into office, the city's financial outlook was very different than it is today. The unemployment rate then was 9.5%. Revenues were mostly stagnant, and we faced budget deficits of nearly $400 million. We all had to make difficult decisions during these challenging economic times to balance the city's budget. I'm pleased to say that today, with the release of my two-year proposed budget, the city's financial condition has greatly improved. The unemployment rate has dropped to 4.4%. The first-year budget deficit is under $100 million for the first time in 6 years, and construction is booming across our city. However, thank you. However, this economic growth, which no one would have thought possible even 5 years ago or a few years ago, has also led to rising prices for homes and other goods and services across the city. I recognize that many San Franciscans are feeling anxious about how to make a living and a life in our great city. And I know that city government has an important role to play in making the lives of everyday people better. And through this budget, I believe we are making smart, responsible, targeted investments to ensure that San Francisco is more affordable and a better place to live for everyone. This year's budget proposal is the result of hard work and collaboration with all of you. And we've met in every district and listened to community leaders and residents, social service providers, both online and in person, to hear directly from them as we develop this two-year budget that reflects all of our San Francisco values. We also work together with our employees to negotiate new contracts with each of them, 27 labor unions. I want to thank our labor partners and the city staff involved in negotiating these fair, affordable, and responsible contracts that ensure our city's employees' wages keep pace with the cost of living. So let's get into the details of this budget. In this budget, you will see fiscal prudence. You'll see an increase in services to our residents, critical investments in transportation, education, our social safety net, and infrastructure, investments in our diverse neighborhoods, and a historic investment in housing. The number one issue I hear about when I'm in the community is the affordability of housing. I believe the success of our city will continue to be based on our commitment to making sure that San Francisco remains a place that people from every background and every economic income can all call home. The shortage of housing affordable to working and low-income people has become a genuine crisis and demands solutions. And that is why housing is a central focus in my two-year budget. Earlier this year, we set an aggressive goal to complete 30,000 new and rehabilitated homes by 2020, with at least one-third of those permanently affordable to low and moderate income families. We must continue to build market rate units, especially rental units. The more options for housing our residents have, the less difficult it becomes to find a home. And by building in neighborhoods outside of our central downtown corridor, in the shipyards, near Candlestick, at Park Merced, or at the old Slade Schlock site in Visitation Valley, we will dramatically expand the number of homes naturally affordable to middle-income families. And this budget includes investments to help make my aggressive goal a reality. 2 years ago, we worked together on the Housing Trust Fund, and as a result of this good work, over the next 2 years, we will access directly from that Housing Trust Fund $48.4 million to produce more affordable housing. But given the challenges that we face, I believe we must do more. So in this budget, I'm including $50 new additional $1 million in funding by leveraging the growth in the Housing Trust Fund to expedite the construction of hundreds of new affordable housing units over the next 2 years. These additional funds represent a meaningful infusion to fill gap funding needs on projects and seed new projects throughout San Francisco. And I believe the success of our city is dependent upon the ability for all of us to work with each other. And in particular, I'm encouraging and challenging our private sector partners to continue to work with us to make critical civic investments, including affordable housing, that make San Francisco better for everyone. Our city must continue to develop its spirit of civic engagement. And that's why in this budget, I'm launching an Office of Strategic Partnerships in the Mayor's office to work more deliberately and directly with foundations, nonprofits, and the private sector to do more good for more people. In addition to creating more housing for low and middle income residents, I believe making sure our public housing is safe, clean, and in good condition for the most vulnerable San Francisco families is one of the best investments we can make. In this budget, you will see continued investment in re-envisioning our public housing, building on and expanding the principles of HOPE SF. But to get tens of thousands of homes built faster, we must reduce the obstacles that can slow or even stop their construction. And that is why, in my budget, we are increasing staffing at planning and building inspection to cut through the red tape and get these projects started and finished. I am proud of our work with Senator Mark Leno to try to get Ellis Act reform here in San Francisco. We need the state's help, but we must continue to do what we can locally to prevent people from being forced out of their homes by speculators. And that's why in this budget, we'll include continuation of funding for eviction prevention and rapid rehousing, as well as the successful Right to Civil Counsel pilot program. But on our streets, there are still too many people without a place to call home. This budget includes new funding for housing and supportive services for veterans, families, transitional age youth, as well as investments in our shelter system, outreach and engagement, and supports that help to the homeless families and access to child care and jobs for them. In addition to the availability of housing, receiving reliable, quality public services is an important aspect of how San Franciscans feel about living in our great city. And a large part of this is our public transportation system. Now, I appreciate the work of the Municipal Transportation Agency Board of Directors to include a 10% service increase in the budget over the next 2 years. We must also work together to pass a $500 million general obligation bond for the transportation that will invest in our critical transportation systems infrastructure and further improve Muni reliability and travel speed, improve pedestrian and bicycle safety, and prepare for growth in our city's busiest travel corridors, all without raising property taxes. Together, these investments will help ensure that the city's transit system is more accessible and reliable. And in addition, building on the progress we made with the road repaving and street safety bond, my 2-year budget fully funds our city's street repaving program with $83.5 million in general fund support, which will allow us to repave 1,700 blocks throughout our city over the next 2 years. In fact, I'm proud to state that we are fully funding the capital plan in the first year of the budget. and including an unprecedented $213 million in general fund support for smart, responsible capital investments through the city's 10-year capital plan over the next 2 years. We will also expand services at Department of Public Works and Recreation and Parks Department to keep our streets cleaner, maintain our city streets, and promote public safety throughout our parks. As San Francisco's economy recovers and grows, and I believe it's critical that everyone shares in this success. In the current environment of increasing costs, the city's lowest paid workers will fall further behind if we don't increase the minimum wage. We will raise the minimum wage for our working families, and we'll do it together, the San Francisco way to do it. And we'll continue our efforts to be a healthier city. One thing we agreed on early was that protecting our social safety net is more important than ever, and therefore, I have rejected all proposed Year 1 mental health and substance abuse reductions from the Public Health Department. I have fully restored the $3 million in federal cuts to programs serving people with HIV and AIDS. The rebuild of San Francisco General Hospital, the largest general obligation bond in our city's history, is well underway, on time and on budget, with an opening date of December 2015. And the Affordable Care Act has already helped more than 80,000 San Franciscans access health insurance, and about half of those through Medi-Cal. My thanks to our human services agencies and to the Department of Public Health, which are on the front line of implementing our nation's health care reform. This budget also strengthens our city's primary care services by expanding clinic hours and services and investing in citywide call center to reduce wait times for medical appointments. But health and well-being are about more than just medical care. And that's why my budget also includes new funding for food security for our residents by adding additional meals for our seniors, and will work to enroll more San Franciscans into the CalFresh program. And if we want our families to stay and grow in our city, we must strive for the best public schools anywhere. And that's why this proposed budget includes an unprecedented $137 million in financial support to our San Francisco Unified School District over the next 2 years. And because we know that education starts before kindergarten, we're adding 500 preschools for all slots, bringing the total to 4,100. And this November, we will ask San Francisco voters to renew the Children's Fund and the Public Education Enrichment Fund. Together, these two sources will invest more than $290 million for our children over the next 2 years. And we are also investing in the future success of San Francisco's youth, and I'm again calling upon our employers, large and small, across our city to join us in supporting the future of our young people by creating 7,000 paying, meaningful employment opportunities for our youth this summer and beyond. San Francisco's success as a city is also dependent upon our ability to deliver valuable services to our residents to make them safe and safer. We developed a 6-year police and fire staffing plan to train the next generation of San Francisco's first responders. And this budget fully funds those plans to hire 300 new sworn police officers, 96 firefighters, 20 deputy sheriffs, and 10 911 dispatchers over the next 2 years. And our police and fire will have the necessary vehicles and radios to help them do their jobs. We must also think about public safety on our streets. And I'm supporting the goals of Vision Zero to eliminate traffic-related deaths in our city with an additional $3 million to address pedestrian and bicycle safety projects over the coming years. Small businesses remain the heart and soul of our local economy. This proposed budget includes funding San Francisco's online business portal, making entrepreneurs and innovators cut through bureaucratic red tape and making it easier to start and operate a business. Sometimes we forget that our city's nonprofits are also a critical part of our economy. And I believe that we must do more as a city to support the sector as a whole. So today, I want to affirm that my budget contains 1.5% cost of doing business increase for nonprofits that contract with the city. In addition, we will also launch a new sector initiative at the Office of Economic and Workforce Development focused on strengthening our diverse nonprofit sector. This budget also includes my Invest in Neighborhoods initiative that is creating customized plans in 25 neighborhood commercial districts, providing a job squad that brings City Hall to our neighborhood businesses, and expanding free municipal Wi-Fi to our commercial corridors. Ladies and gentlemen, while the worst of our economic crisis may be behind us, we cannot deviate from our commitment to fiscal responsibility and ensuring a budget that balances the needs of our diverse communities across the city. We will continue to invest in our neighborhoods, in our infrastructure, and most importantly, in our people, the 100%. I want to recognize Budget Chair Supervisor Mark Farrell for leading the budget effort and making this truly a collaborative process. And thank you to my staff led by Steve Cava and to my budget office led by Kate Howard. I want to also thank Ben Rosenfeld, our city controller, and his staff. And of course, thank you in advance to the budget analyst, Harvey Rose, for your cooperation. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, supervisors, let's get back to work and get this budget done. Thank you very much.